Hello, everybody there outside on different parts, in different parts of the world. I'm Kirsten Buchholzer. Today I'm talking with Steven Bright, a very bright person, I have to say. Hello, Steven.
Hi, it's nice to see you.
Before we start, we're going to talk about Corona and Steven's tarot. Just a few words about why we're doing this. I am the president of the German Tarot Association, and since Corona started, since the crisis started, I've decided to use this opportunity to make our association more international. That's why I'm trying to talk to very interesting people outside Germany. Last week we talked with Richard Abbott. I talked with Richard Abbott, I should say. And today I'm talking with Steven. I know Steven quite well. Every time I go to the Tarot conference in UK, in London, that's every October, we sit next to each other. It's kind of a ritual by now. And we bitch a bit, but we are also very helpful when it comes to the exercises we're supposed to do at the conference. And it's a great joy to be with Steven at the conferences, but it's also a great joy to listen to what he has to say about tarot. He's extremely creative. On his own Facebook page, he shares with us loads of lovely pictures every day and analyzes with the tarot. Yeah, and today he's going to share with us what he thinks about Corona according to the tarot cards. So what have the tarot cards to say about the situation we find ourselves in? Is this right, Steven?
Yeah, I think, while I've been working with the cards as I usually would, I started to see things within them which are very directly connected to how we're all responding to Corona at the moment. And in some ways it has to do with the meanings. But in other ways, just looking at cards from my own deck, I can see things in them which relate to what's going on, just intuitively and from the images.
Yeah, when we started to think about what we were going to talk about, you said that your deck is, you called it was the word ordinary? No, it was more everyday deck.
An everyday deck, yeah. It's traditional in the sense that it has the same meanings, but they have a modern twist. So the people in the cards are people that we could all relate to. In many cases that they're modern dressed. They're modernly dressed here. So you have somebody there with the world or the globe, but it's actually it could be a basketball or a football. So you kind of get an idea of how these historic characters could be viewed through a more modern lens. And in some ways I've updated them to be more modern too. So we have a female here in the Hierophant card.
Yes.
But generally, yeah.
That seems to be an issue, actually. I just translated the Modern Witch Tarot into German. And on this deck, we find all the people being female, also the Hierophant. So perhaps we are moving into this direction that, especially with tarot, things becoming more female. I don't know. It's quite interesting.
But I think so. But then in that sense, I would kind of say it's almost jumped to the other end of the scale, and what we really want is balance. So yeah. It's not turning what was historically predominantly male. We're now making a lot of decks predominantly female, and that doesn't really answer the question to me, because I feel that it needs to have a good gender balance in there.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because, for example, in the Modern Witch Tarot, we have now an emperor and an empress, but they're both female. It's a bit like, especially with German gender language, it's much more difficult to bring this into German language than in English language. It's a bit weird to me, but it's perhaps necessary after a time of so much male energy in the world.
Absolutely. I think at the end of the day, I think it's having so many decks out there at the moment. I think it's important that everybody finds one that they're comfortable with. So if you're looking for one that's predominantly male, or you're looking for one that's predominantly female, or if you're looking for one that's balanced, there is these days everything. There's something for everybody.
What I find so lovely about your tarot is this, that people really are not shown. There are no faces, there are no clothing or whatever. So everybody can identify and slip really into one of these characters there. It's like in the Way Tarot, we have the 7 of Cups. And this is the only card where you can really slip into the person, and you make this for all your cards. And I really like this idea to
yes.
inhabit basically the deck yourself and experience what's happening to you once you step into the card.
I think so. I think, having a silhouette like that, it means that you can look at the images and see yourself in them. Like take this one here of the 6 of Cups. We have these 2 children, and you might look at those images and see your own children. You might look at this image and see yourself when you were younger, and each time, I think, and in each reading, it morphs into different people. So for different clients, they're going to see themselves maybe in this card, whereas you might see your friend, or you might see a time when you were working really, being really productive for something. I think the other strength of this deck as well, and another thing that people are trying to answer in the community of creators, is that it doesn't have specific types of people. It kind of cuts through race and in some places gender. Sometimes the gender might be a bit ambiguous, but it could suit anybody around the world.
Yeah, that's a really good thing. How did you do these cards? Did you make photos of people, or did you invent this just in your head?
Some of them I took photographs for, and then there are other ones. So this one here is actually my partner. So my partner posed me with, I think it was a broom in the garden, I think that was.
Is it?
Yeah. So,
I love this.
Some of them I didn't, sometimes I looked around for images and copied images, and then I drew them all on the computer in Adobe Illustrator, so that you get that. I mean, I say it's a flat look, which it is, but in some of the cards, as a couple of reviewers have noted, that there are kind of different gradients of colour there, so you get different kinds of shadows. So it gives it that little bit more depth.
Interesting. Yeah, we want to talk about Corona right now. When the crisis started here in Germany, I was constantly reading about what was happening in Britain, and British people were quite relaxed while everything was in panic here already. And you by now have also come into realizing that we have a major crisis, I think, in Britain. But when we talked to get settled about what we're going to do here, we both realized that the same problems are here in Germany as in Britain, about how people react to the crisis, that there are people who really want to stay in, others are just continuing like nothing has happened. And so we had the idea to focus on how people behave, or what kind of quality time we have right now with Corona, and look at your cards. And we made a little presentation, which I'm going to open now. And then we can discuss this in more detail. I hope everybody can see now the presentation. I'm going to leave it like that so I can focus with my mouse pad on on details. You created this, Steven. Would you like to tell us what you mean by these 4 cards regarding Corona, and what you mean by guidelines?
Of course. So over here in the UK, we do have guidelines that have been issued by the government encouraging people to do 4 different things. And this is what I was talking about, when I start looking at the cards now, even just of the images, even if you take away some of the traditional interpretations for them, you start to see some of these things that we're facing coming up in the images. So you could look at the first card, the Ten of Pentacles there, which is asking us to stay at home where possible, you know, and as much as possible. It's interesting, you know, I'm looking at that and I'm already kind of picking up different things with it, because we've got a family situation there of people being at home, but you also have the people in the background distanced a little bit from the more mature person with the dog. And over here, you know, I think we began believing that this was something that only people of a certain age were going to be vulnerable to. So people over 70, which, you know, my parents are in that group. So you can actually see the younger members there kind of stepping back and having a little bit of respect for the older person, which I think still works with the card. You know, we look at the card as being about family and stability and respect and, you know, respect for our elders. So that first card to me was saying, stay at home.
Yes. In comparison to the weight deck, I think it's quite interesting that the mature person, as you call it, is more in focus than on the weight card. On the weight card, it's sitting a little bit in the dark, isn't?
Yeah.
Isn't the person? Oh, sorry, my English is a bit difficult at times. So it is actually a time right now where we're thinking very much about older people. We also have this generation discrepancy. We had before Corona this issue of boomers against Generation Y very strongly. I don't know whether you had this in Britain, but in Germany there were huge quarrels between these two generations. And right now, though I think the elderly persons are not Generation Boomer, they're a bit even a generation after, before, I mean. Right now, it's a new way of looking at society and the way generations work together. And I think this is quite a good card for this.
I think, you know, just looking at the image as well, you know, you can get quite a lot from it. And I think that looking at that person sitting there, it's also reminding us that the older person in that seat is set away, and it reminds us to think about elderly people that might be living near us. You know, are people on their own that need some shopping, or, you know, that you can check in with in some way to make sure that they're okay.
Yeah. Yeah, in Germany, we have now this problem that we are no longer allowed to go into elderly homes or visit elderly people unless we cover ourselves up. So also again, yeah, it's quite interesting to think about this card in this vein. Yeah. I like this. What about the Queen of Swords?
So the Queen of Swords, I mean, we think about the Queen of Swords as being somebody who's very strong, somebody who sometimes is opinionated, somebody who's a great communicator. I really wanted, when I created this deck, there's so many tarots out there that paint the Queen of Swords as a very harsh and aggressive lady. And I didn't really want to think about that side of her. I wanted to think about somebody who was very much in charge of their ideas, somebody who was a great speaker, somebody who had some kind of authority. So I chose to make her work from home. And the second card here is the guideline of working from home unless it's absolutely essential that you cannot. So we see somebody sitting at the laptop or the desktop computer. She does have her sword just tipped against the monitor there, because it reminds us that she does have the ability to be strong with her tongue and her communication if she needs to be. But I like this image because it shows somebody working at home. And that's, you know, for me, that's what I do generally. But there are a lot of people now who are not working in their offices, they're working in their bedrooms or their dining rooms or what have you. So this one's about staying at home to work. Yeah, and it's about reflection. And also the Queen of Swords never gets very good press when you go through the books. But I like this idea here as well, that we are now forced
to use our creativity, even if we are doing homework all the time, we still need to be very creative at present to generate our income. And this is something the Queen of Swords is really good in doing, I think. Just be
Absolutely.
creative, right?
Yeah. Especially with ideas, I think, as well, at the time. It's about kind of finding ways of doing things in a different way. And when we at the moment, we're having loads of these obstacles that we're facing, and we're all having to look at what we might do normally and think, how can we do it differently? And she's great at doing that.
Yeah, very good. She reminds me a bit of an image in Game of Thrones, I have to say. I see.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't have a laptop.
The Knight of Wands is the other thing that we're encouraged here to do, is to take one form of exercise a day. So you could relate that back to the traditional interpretation of the card, in the sense that this is somebody who likes to get out there and do things and move about. They're very energetic and very lively. And obviously, because this is a modern deck, there are a few horses. I think there's a horse in here somewhere. But, we've got somebody moving and running, so it kind of brings it up to date. So that's the exercise card.
So you don't have any horses in your deck?
I have one in the Six of Wands.
Okay, but not the knights. The knights are...
The knights are, they're all kind of moving, or they're in some kind of stance that suggests movement.
Yeah. And did you choose the same background always in the color for every suit?
I did, yes.
Yeah, good, like it.
One of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to make a deck that was simplistic in the sense, of how it could be viewed, so that it wasn't overwhelming to people. Because I think sometimes decks can be, it's great to have a lot of symbolism, but sometimes it can be overwhelming. And I think that with this deck, I wanted to kind of take it down to the essence, so that it still was deep enough for a seasoned reader, but then on the other hand, somebody who was starting out would be able to get an idea of what the meaning of the card was just from looking at that image. But yeah, all of the suits are relating to the elements. So we had a yellow colour for the swords, that kind of burnt orange colour for the wands, greens for pentacles, and a bluey kind of colour for cups.
I really like this energy aura these wands people have. It's quite good. What about the fourth card?
So the fourth card is the Seven of Wands, which is the one that I showed you already. And, this is all about social distancing. This is the other thing that we've been asked to do. This is maybe quite an extreme form of social distancing here with the wand, but it's kind of suggesting, that we keep back from people, and even if others have demands for you, you're being told to keep your distance.
In a very aggressive way.
In a very aggressive way.
It's a total new interpretation for me of the Seven of Wands. Well, no, you might always say keep your distance, but it's more about just fighting for yourself, isn't it? And,
of course, yeah. I mean, we're standing up for ourselves at the moment as well, really, all of us. We're standing up for ourselves to be healthy.
Yeah.
And this card very much is it's saying, keep a one's length away from everybody else. And there are people that are, behaving a little bit like that. You go out and, I walked down the road to the post box, I think it was probably about a week or so ago, which I think it's probably the last time I actually went out for a walk.
You didn't do your exercise every day?
3 weeks, but, I had to go out. And I walked along the road and I saw somebody who could have crossed over the zebra crossing, but they chose not to because I was on the other side. So people are kind of doing that, keep away.
Yeah, but it's also like we're wasting a lot of our energy on doing this, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, very interesting. So you made another group of 4, which I'm showing now. The issue of Corona. So tell me about that.
So the issues really are the issues that people are facing at the moment. And first of all, we start off with the Emperor. And for the emperor, I'm thinking about authority, and I think it's really difficult. It seems to be, especially over here in the UK, it's difficult for people to do what they've been asked to do or what they've been encouraged to do. People don't always like to take orders. And we've seen over here a lot that there are people who are defying what they've been told, and they're out sunbathing on the beach and meeting up with friends and having barbecues in the park and all of this kind of stuff, or going to parties. So I think one of the issues for people, on a very personal level, is they don't like to follow rules.
Yeah, but if you say the emperor's authority, I also have to say that I find it very difficult to listen to the order of people who for the past years have done nothing which convinced me that they are authoritative.
Of course, yeah.
So it's quite hard to now say, oh, they say I have to do this and now I'm doing this, because I personally don't trust them anymore.
Of course, and I think that's probably what makes a card like the Emperor stick in the throat of some people, because they're having to follow orders maybe from leaders that they don't feel are generally good at leading.
Yeah, exactly.
Or haven't been.
Yeah. But I mean, the Emperor is an issue of this year. We have 2020, so it's 4, if you calculate the numbers together. And I think this might be actually one of the major issues. Who is still an authority? In whom can we really trust in a crisis? How did people respond to the Queen's talk on Sunday?
Quite favourably, I think. I mean, from my understanding, she doesn't address the nation that often, or hasn't. So it's a little bit of a rarity. We only usually have the Christmas speech from our Queen. I think that the Queen is somebody that a lot of people have affection for and who respect over here. So in that sense, I think it went down really well. I think it would probably be more government that people are less inclined to follow. But the Emperor is sometimes about our own personal order. So in some sense it's about kind of stepping up to know what you should be doing and to practice what we preach.
Yeah, and to take responsibility.
Of course.
If we don't want to listen to the people who say what we have to do, we have to look that we do it in our own responsible way.
Yeah,
I can understand this. Yeah, and what is the next card all about?
So the 8 of Swords is one of so many people will be able to relate to, is this whole idea of being isolated and feeling restricted, so that they feel they can't go anywhere, they can't do the things that they would normally do in life. So in a sense, this one's quite an obvious one, I think, for most people.
Yeah, but it's also, again, you chose a swords card, so it's a mental thing.
Of course, it's not just a physical problem that we're facing. It's very much a mental thing. And we have a couple of swords cards here, and there's quite a few swords cards cropped up actually when I was doing this, which I thought was quite interesting. So it's kind of the mental problems that we have to go through, whether that's being confined in the fact that we can't see people that we would usually see, or we can't communicate with all of the people as often as we would like to.
And what is the difference for you in this regard between the 8 and the 9 of Swords?
The 9 of Swords is more about, we've been talking about mental health more regularly in the last couple of years, maybe, than we ever have done before this. It's much more exposed than it has been, and more people in powerful positions are coming out and talking about that. So this card to me was very much about the fear that we are all experiencing, because as much as we're looking at isolation and we are not always wanting to follow the rules, a lot of people have got a very strong underlying anxiety about what's going on, the doubt of, where is this going to go? How long is it going to go on for? How is it going to affect our lives? And for how long is that going to happen? So I think that's, we've all got loved ones as well that we're concerned about, and for some of us, we're not going to be attached to them at the moment. We're going to be separated. So we have a fear for ourselves, but we also have a fear for other people in our lives as well. And that's very much what those swords are doing there. They're closing down on the person.
Yeah, +8 and 9 are very high numbers. So it's about the end of an issue, if you call it the issues, which means we now are stuck with what we have created during the past years, perhaps since the last World War, or I don't know, when the EU came first into action or whatever, and now everybody is afraid, but we all know we need to take a step forward and regenerate somehow.
Yeah, I think, one of the meanings of the Nine of Swords as well is that sometimes we can worry about things unnecessarily. So there are going to be a lot of people out there, and I've seen a lot of this on social media, people panicking and taking a fear and blowing it up into things that potentially might not happen.
Yeah, worst case scenarios. Yeah,
of course. Yes, absolutely.
And the Four of Pentacles?
The Four of Pentacles, for me, is very much about having what you need. And, this one here, I think we could really think about what we've seen lately all around the world of people panic buying and taking too much. So I think it's a little bit of a reminder that, we need what we need, and we need enough of what we need. We don't need more than we need. This is about remembering that there are other people. Everybody in my street that I can see out of the window here are facing the same thing as I am. Everybody that's watching this is facing what we're both facing, and there is enough for everybody out there, and we need to be a little bit mindful of that, especially when we're doing our shopping.
Yeah, that's actually the shopping card, isn't it? And really what people shop in times of crisis, as we all know, it's toilet paper, but it's also yeast. You can't get yeast anymore. I'm curious how it's going to be with beer once we don't have any more yeast. It's going to be interesting. And the essentials, and also that we all come to realize what we really need while we have been living in luxury for many, many years. Yeah.
Which I think in a sense is one of the benefits of this time as well. And I hope that when we come out of it, people don't lose sight of that, that they're, I'm looking at things now. I'm looking at the meals that are being put together, and I'm really appreciating them, because shopping is obviously not so easy to come by as it was before. We can't just pop out and get something because we fancy it. We have to look at what we have and make the best of that and not waste stuff. Yeah. There's a lot of people that have been buying and overbuying in recent weeks, and a lot of that food apparently has gone off, and there's overflowing bins where people have bought too much fresh produce.
So stupid. Anyway, very, very well chosen cards, Steven. Thank you for that. The benefits, let's
yes.
The benefits, please.
Absolutely, but I think there's always going to be some light in a situation. There's always going to be something that comes out of it. There's a lot of terrible things going on, and a lot of people are losing their lives and becoming very ill. But I think it's always interesting to look at things that could be positive here. And the benefits really I'm looking at on a personal level for people, almost a little bit like advice of what you might do during this time. So the Eight of Pentacles here is a card of learning new skills. If this is the perfect time to sit down and learn the tarot, that might be something that somebody wants to do. We spend a lot of time saying, I haven't got time to sit down and do this because I'm at work all the day and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. People's lives are still busy, but maybe they can fit in. There's a lot of people that are bored too, and I think that they could fit in time to say, well, now I'm gonna create this thing that I wanted to create, or I'm gonna mend things that I intended to mend. And the Eight of Pentacles is about that. It's about learning new skills and finding time to persevere and practice.
I really like this card a lot. It's anyway, the Eight of Pentacles is one of my most beloved cards personally. But I really like this sewing machine because here you can now very well see this everyday deck here. Plus, I like that now everybody needs to be thinking about how to do their masks on their own, because at one point we're all going to be forced to wear masks, and there are no masks. So this is a very apt card.
Isn't it? Yeah, I didn't think about that. But, and also mending stuff, and, the card actually, the reason there's a sewing machine in it is because I used to have a sewing machine exactly like that one, because I studied fashion at university many years ago. So it's kind of a little bit of a personal one, that one.
It's lovely. I really like it. Yeah, the Four of Swords.
Get some rest. This is... I wrote a post this morning on social media. I put up a picture of a flower, and I think one of the things that is good about being in isolation is it's almost like hitting the pause button on life, and you can look around and appreciate so many things, the beauty around you that maybe you were too busy to notice before. You can appreciate the people in your home that you're isolating with. You can appreciate the people that you're not isolating with, that you're separated from, that you really, really miss. And this card for me is, take some rest. There's so many people that are usually so busy. If you can have the opportunity to take a nap in the garden in the afternoon, if you're lucky enough to have one, or, just to take a little bit of time out and reflect, then I see that as a benefit of this time.
Yeah, though this is really difficult if you think that you chose the 8 and 9 of Swords for the problematic part of the issue. Yeah.
The Four of Swords is often related to meditation. And maybe you could combine those two cards in the sense that, and the card before it, to say, well, now is the time I'm going to learn and practice to meditate.
Yeah.
And then we deal with the learning something new. We learn to cope with our stresses and those stray thoughts. And at the same time, we're finding a way to relax.
Yeah, obviously. I'm more of an active person, so I think I like the Three of Pentacles more.
Well, this one, firstly, if we look at the traditional meaning, it's suggesting that we all are in this together, and I think in so many ways we're seeing now how people are helping out each other. They're like cogs in this machine. But what I quite liked about this, one of the reasons I chose this, is so many people are saying, this is the time that I'm going to do some home improvements. And I've seen more people on Facebook decorating their houses and redoing their kitchens, going out and building things in their gardens. So it's a great time for odd jobs as well.
Yeah, that's true. You get craftsmen now as well. They come, they have time.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's great.
It's quite nice. Yeah. And another good card for you is the Six of Pentacles.
It's kind of similar, when we think about the Six of Pentacles, we think of charity, we think about helping people. And, as much as in that card there, we have that charity box, and that's obviously something that we can do. But sometimes it's about sharing your time with others. It might be that you call somebody just because somebody else is on their own, or they need a little bit of company. If you can't be with them in person, then maybe it's time to call them up. One thing I've seen people doing a lot is having these video parties online, and I've done that myself. I've had it with 3 or so people where we catch up that way. So the Six of Pentacles is about sharing what you have, sharing your time at the moment, sharing your wisdom, if you can do, to help people through this.
Yeah, it's not only this parties stuff, but it's more about all these artists now who have no way of income, and they are appealing to people to don't insist on refunds or to have vouchers or whatever. And many people do this as well. So it's about bringing people together again on a community level, I would say.
Yeah, I think when we look at this card, I think it's important in this context to say that everybody has something that they can give.
Yeah.
You know, it's your ear, or it's something that you can say, or something that you can do. I mean, a friend of mine was out doing shopping, and she went and did a whole load of shopping and left it on the drive. You know, there's always something, and it doesn't have to be a really big grand thing like that. It could be just being there because somebody needs you, but also remember to ask if you need help too, because this card, it goes both ways.
Exactly. Well, that's what, coming back to the example with the artists, what's happening. There are so many famous artists doing stuff for free now to give their art to other people. I mean, what we are doing now as well, I'm not an artist, you are, but we're spending our time giving it to other people to have some joy perhaps, or learn some things. So this is also for me is the Six of Pentacles.
I think the last thing I'll say about that as well is I think it's a really great shout out to all of the people that are working on the front lines, you know, our doctors and our nurses and our police and everybody that's out there doing things, the people that are packing up the groceries for online deliveries. All of those people are doing a tremendous job, and I think that the Six of Pentacles reminds us of those things as well.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, we have another 4 cards. The Advice.
Yeah, so
quite a nice tarot reading you did,
isn't it? So the advice here, you know, and the things that you could do, you could take these different positions, you know, the guidelines and the benefits and the issues and the advice, and you could make a 4-card reading out of this if you wanted to, and pull these cards randomly and see what you get. That would be interesting if anybody wants to do that and they want to comment in what they got after this, you know, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
But the advice here is kind of giving you practical things to think about, and that's really the essence of this deck. I think, you know, I wanted it to be practical and used. You know, you get a lot of really beautiful decks out there, but I wanted this to be attractive, but I wanted it to be a workhorse deck for a lot of people. The practical advice for the Magician is to remember your resources. You know, he has the sword and he's got the cup and he's got the wand and he's got the pentacle. He has all of these things at his disposal, and what it's asking you is, what have you got? What can you know, what have you got in the freezer that you can make for food? What have you got that you can amuse yourself with at this time? Because it's not so easy to get hold of things, so we really have to make the best out of the things that we already have.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's also about your mental resources, obviously. It's about, from all of the elements, the resources, an invitation to be more creative and start anew. It's a one.
Yeah. You know, you could look at it and think, you know, of the Magician and say, you know, what do I have to make some magic with?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, the Hanged Man is an advice.
Yeah, the Hanged Man is reminders. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can look at the Hanged Man, and you know, all of them really are applicable. But the one that I was thinking about was sacrifice, and I think that all of us have to make sacrifices at this time. It's just something that we're required to do, you know, and that could come from a very small sacrifice to a really big sacrifice. I'm sure there are people out there at the moment who are having to cancel weddings, people that have things coming up, which they've had to make sacrifices for the better of everybody, rather than thinking about, you know, sometimes what are our needs.
Yeah, I'm sure it's self-explanatory, actually. Everybody made sacrifices, But with the Hanged Man, it always comes with a lesson, the sacrifice, isn't it? It's not only sacrificing, but sacrificing something to have something better in the end. Of
course. And I think, you know, sometimes it's the sacrifices that we make today, which will have an effect on tomorrow, and when I say tomorrow, I'm talking about 2 months down the track. If we get back to those people who are, ignoring advice and they're going out there and living their lives in the way that they were previously, this is going to go on for so much more. So for those people, to stay at home today, it might be that little bit more difficult, or it might be an obstacle for them. But, moving forward, it's going to mean that this virus is hopefully slowed down, and it stops the spread.
Hopefully. 5 of Cups.
5 of Cups. We all understand in the 5 of Cups that we have the guy in this card. He's looking at those spilt cups. And at the moment, I think it's really easy for us to look at all of the difficult stuff that's going on, and be very, very much concentrating on that. But what we don't see is the 2 cups, and there is always some light in a situation. As we've already looked at in terms of the benefits, there are always things to look forward to. So I think at the moment, we can spend a lot of time. I mean, my parents are people that spend a lot of time listening to the news. And as much as I think, that we need to be informed and up to date, I think sometimes you can direct your attention to something else as well. We need a little bit of balance.
Yeah, or get drunk would be another advice for me.
Yeah.
That's me being, you're a Piscean as well.
Don't cry over the spilt wine.
Yeah, you're right. I can relate to this quite well. The Star.
And the Star, for me, the Star is about, quite simply, don't give up hope. We all, as much as we're going through, when we think about the Star and we think about the card that precedes it in the Major Arcana, which is the Tower, we know we're going through this rough Tower time, but we have to remember that this isn't going to go on forever, and there will be light at the end of this tunnel eventually, and we have to kind of remind ourselves of that sometimes, because it's so easy to fall into this hole of fear and worry and doubt. But we need to remember that, eventually life will continue. It might be different, but, we'll all definitely be affected by this. But, there's that star, there's that little bird in the card that's saying, remember that there is light to look forward to.
Yeah. I really like the colors of the star, and I really like how these 4 images create this shade of colors. It's a bit like a rainbow.
Yeah, yes, it is.
It's quite sweet. Yeah, very interesting thoughts, Steven. So if you would say one card is the ultimate Corona card for me, which one would this be?
Oh, well, I think, okay, well, the first one I'm looking at here, and I kind of feel that I think many of them are relevant. Obviously, I think the one that we would all associate with at the moment is the Hermit, because it's about kind of taking ourselves out of our normal life, and it's about taking away from society. But I also feel that this one is probably, I can't actually see here, so I'm not sure if I'm pointing in the subtlety.
No, you can't see it. Can you just tell me?
Yeah, of course. It's the Strength card. And in my Strength card, it is somebody sitting on the edge of a ledge, and they're head to head with a lion. And I think this is, at the moment, it's about challenging the virus and saying, that we are strong enough to deal with this if we do what we're supposed to be doing. And I think it's also talking about being strong and confronting your fears. So I'd say for me, the Corona card that makes the most sense is Strength, because it's all about courage to move forward, and that we can get through this.
Yeah, I like this idea. I was just thinking about this because when we had 9/11, tarot readers quite quickly came up with Tower, obviously. But they also reported that during the period before and after, the tower always appeared in their readings, in many, many readings, as a generation card, basically. And I was wondering whether for us as a tarot community, a certain card is coming up quite often right now, but probably you will find this out later in retrospective. So, but I really like the Strengths card as an idea. Yeah, I mean, this has been a lot of input today. I really appreciate your thoughts. Just to remind everybody, you can buy this great deck, the Spirit Within Tarot. It's only available on Amazon, as far as I know. For about €20, I think you can get it, and it's a really a thing you really should be getting, because it's one deck for the 21st century you really should be having, I think.
You can buy from the publishers. You can buy it from Schiffer's website as well.
Okay.
A Red Feather. And I've seen it, in a lot of different places, that you can get it on Wordery, Book Depository.
Yeah, I think in Germany people tend to go to Amazon before they check British sites. But I can put, for example, Feather's publishing house in the comments later on, if anybody's interested. Or if you are interested to know more, you can contact Steven directly. I'm sure he will give you answers. And while we are doing a little bit of promotion for your work, I also would tell everybody, especially for those living in Germany who are watching, that Steven is also involved in a magazine project around tarot, but not only tarot. It's called the Esoterical, and it's a bit dodgy, my screen right now. I have to put this away. The Esoterical is a magazine. Why don't you tell people what the Esoterical is?
The Esoterical is a magazine that focuses on divination, really. So we are looking at tarot, we're looking at oracle, or anything that you might use to divine with. I have a copy here as well. We have the first issue. And really what it does is it brings together lots of different tarot and oracle luminaries from around the world, lots of recognizable names. And we have lots of articles in there. We have loads of different features, problem pages, and lots of tips and tricks as how to use cards, basically. We also have quite a vast preview section and review section. So all of the new decks, whether they're mainstream published decks or there are decks that have been self-published, you'll find something for everybody in there, I think.
And I really like the cover of the second edition.
It's great, isn't it?
It's a David Bowie tarot, right?
Yeah, it's the Starman Tarot.
Starman
is the deck that David de Evangelis created. And this is a card that's not actually in the deck, but he repurposed with the tarot cards for us. So it's lovely. I love it. It's very, very punchy.
Yeah, very invigorating, I think.
Yeah, and we need that at this time, I think.
Yeah. So I will finish the presentation now, and perhaps you can show, for finishing off our talk, this strengths card right now, so people can see it now once the presentation is off. And yeah, okay.
One of the things I liked about making this deck as well is to kind of change up the way that we see things, and I think having some of the cards where you look from a distance, it kind of makes it a little bit more impactful, I think.
Yeah. I like this a lot.
Same, I think you can see the hermit on the back of the box. So you're looking at that experience from far away, but it doesn't make it any less personal.
This was the hermit?
That was the hermit, yeah, on the back of the box.
Wow, yeah. Really, really.
And that's all you need, really, is that.
Yeah, it's excellent. I really like that the person is sitting next to an abyss, and it's really, we have no way out but to face the lion. It's
Yeah.
an excellent idea.
Yeah, definitely. You can't do anything else, or or you fall apart and you fall off the back of the cliff, or you get mauled. So.
Well, I must say, Stephen, well done, your deck.
Thank you.
You also wrote a tarot book, which I put down in the presentation for anybody who wants to read about Stephen's thoughts on tarot, which is definitely worthwhile. Can you hold it a little bit closer even? It's called the Personal Guide, your personal guide tarot. And also you can get it in the internet, no problem, if you want to read it. And it's based on the Weight Tarot, though, not on the
That's right.
tarot.
It's pretty general. I mean, I don't go into the actual specifics of the meanings in here, so it would fit pretty much any deck.
Yeah.
But it does read from the weight perspective. You've also got a chart in the back as well, which you can put on your wall, if you're beginning. So
very nice.
Thank you.
Yes, so I checked the comment section. There are not many comments right now. As I said, this is going to be recorded and is going to be available as a stream on Facebook, and I'm sure people will come back to you. Now it's midday, people don't watch Facebook too much right now. But anybody who wants to know something more about Stephen's deck or about what we talked about, just put it into the comments, and Stephen or I are going to come back to you. Next week, I'm going to talk to somebody else again, but I don't know yet whom. I asked a few people whether they had time. I haven't had a chance to, they haven't had a chance to come back to me, but I will announce it as soon as possible. And on Friday, I'm going to talk to a German person from the Tarot Association, Katrin Wünning. It's going to be in German, so not for international people. Do you want to say anything else, dear Stephen?
In terms of what we've already been talking about, I think I would just end by saying, stay at home if you can, stay safe, and think about, everybody else as well as yourself. Think about your health and your well-being, but think about everybody else's too.
Yes, you are probably right. I'm a bit too... I like adventures. No, but I'm staying at home and I'm very good girl. Okay, so I would say bye to everybody. Have a great time at home, and we will at one point meet again, perhaps at a tarot conference in London, who knows.